The note was waiting on my dining room table when I opened my eyes on the morning of my knee replacement surgery, leaning against the coffee mug like it was nothing more than a reminder to buy milk. Mom, Beatrice has always wanted to visit Hawaii for her 80th birthday, and this feels like the right time. You're tough, you always manage everything alone. The procedure is standard, you'll be okay. We'll check in when we're back. Love, Nathan. I read it 4 times before the meaning sank in, my fingers going numb around the paper while the coffee maker gurgled in the background. Today was the day I'd been preparing for over 7 months, ever since Dr. Harlan sat across from me in his quiet office and said the words that turned my world sideways. Mrs. Thompson, your left knee is bone on bone. Without replacement, you'll be in a wheelchair within 5 years. With it, you could walk pain-free for another 20. I'd called Nathan that same afternoon, my voice shaking more than I wanted to admit. I'm frightened, sweetheart. Can you be there with me? Of course, Mom, I wouldn't miss it. That promise had carried me through months of pre-op visits, physical therapy evaluations, insurance forms, and sleepless nights when the pain in my knee felt like a preview of every fear I had about getting older. Nathan had driven me to appointments, sat with me while the anesthesiologist explained risks, promised that Jenna and the grandkids would bring meals during recovery. Now he was on a plane to Honolulu with his mother-in-law, and I was alone in my quiet house at 4:30 in the morning, holding a note that felt like the end of something I couldn't name. If you've ever felt that kind of shock, the moment you realize the person you poured your life into sees you as someone who can always handle things alone, then you know how my heart felt in that kitchen. If my story resonates with you, if you've ever been taken for granted by the people who should have shown up most, subscribe to the channel and stay with me. There are more stories like this one, and I promise you're not alone. My phone buzzed on the counter, pulling me out of the fog. Karen Wilson, my oldest friend from the library where I'd worked for 38 years, her voice warm and steady. Morning, Gloria. I'm 10 minutes out. Ready for your big day? Karen. Thank God for Karen, who'd stepped in without hesitation when I mentioned, casually because I was still hoping Nathan would change his mind, that I needed someone listed as emergency contact. At 72, she was still shelving books part-time at the downtown branch, the same no-nonsense woman who'd hired me when I was a 24-year-old single mother with a toddler and a mountain of determination. Karen, I said, my throat tight, Nathan isn't coming, he's in Hawaii, with Beatrice. The line went silent long enough that I checked to see if the call had dropped. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the controlled anger I'd heard her use on budget-cutting administrators and parents who let toddlers destroy picture books. Gloria Marie Thompson, do not make excuses for that boy. What kind of son leaves his mother alone the day she's having major joint replacement to take his mother-in-law on a birthday trip? The kind Nathan had slowly become, I thought. The kind who'd spent the last 6 years circling Beatrice like she was the center of gravity and I was just background noise. Ever since Jenna's father passed and left Beatrice that big colonial in Oakwood Estates, Nathan had been pulled there like tide to moon. Sunday dinners moved from my modest ranch house to Beatrice's formal dining room with the crystal chandelier. Holidays relocated to her sprawling backyard with the built-in grill. The grandchildren started calling her Mimi B, while I became plain Grandma Gloria, as if the difference in names somehow measured our worth in their lives. I'll be fine, I told Karen, though neither of us believed it. The surgery is routine, right? That's what Nathan wrote. Gloria, knee replacement is serious. You need someone there who will speak up if something goes wrong, who will hold your hand when you wake up confused and hurting, someone who loves you enough to put you first just this once. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of being disposable settle over me like morning fog. When had I become the person my own son assumed could manage everything alone? I'll be that someone, Karen said fiercely, and when you're through this, and you will get through this, we're going to talk about what kind of relationship you want with people who treat you like background scenery. After we hung up, I moved slowly through my house, looking at photographs that told the story of a life spent giving. Nathan at 7, missing front teeth, beaming after I'd worked extra evenings to pay for his soccer league. Nathan at 17, embarrassed but proud in his graduation cap, paid for with overtime when the library budget got tight. Nathan at 29, handsome beside Jenna in the wedding photos I'd helped fund when her family struggled. When had my sacrifices become proof that I didn't need anything back? When had always managing turned into never mattering? I picked up the note again, studying Nathan's neat handwriting, the same careful letters I'd helped him practice at this very table while I finished my library science degree at night. Beatrice has always wanted to visit Hawaii for her 80th, as if my own dreams expired the day I chose to raise him alone after his father walked out. As if working double shifts, skipping vacations, putting his needs first for 39 years meant I no longer had needs of my own. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was about to have major surgery on the knee I ruined, carrying everyone's weight, sometimes literally, sometimes emotionally, for decades. But there was something Nathan didn't know, something I'd kept quiet because I'd spent a lifetime not wanting to burden anyone with my small hopes. 7 months ago, when the diagnosis came and I started researching surgeons, I'd seen an ad for a show called America's Second Chances, a reality program where renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Michael Reyes performed life-changing procedures on patients whose stories touched the selection committee. I'd submitted an application on a sleepless night when pain and fear kept me awake, more as therapy than real hope. "Tell us why you deserve a second chance," the form had asked. I'd written about my 38 years as a librarian, about creating safe spaces for children to fall in love with reading, about the thousands of patrons I helped find jobs, learn English, escape abusive homes through the sanctuary of books. I'd written about choosing community over personal ambition, about finding joy in other people's discoveries, about a life spent making sure no one felt invisible in my library. I never thought they'd choose someone ordinary like me, women who work quietly, who raise children alone, who keep communities running. We don't get television miracles. Except I had been chosen. The call came 3 weeks ago, a producer named Lisa, whose excitement practically vibrated through the phone. "Mrs. Thompson, your story moved everyone here. You represent the heart of what public libraries do for communities, and Dr. Reyes is personally invested in your case." I'd agreed partly because the surgery would be covered completely, partly because some hidden part of me wondered what it would feel like to be seen as someone worth celebrating. Nathan didn't know about the show. I hadn't told him. I'd planned to surprise him when he arrived at the hospital, to watch his face when he realized his mother's routine procedure was actually groundbreaking television. Instead, he was probably sipping coffee on a flight to Honolulu, while I prepared to face the scariest day of my life, with only Karen's fierce loyalty holding me together. But as I showered and dressed in the loose clothes the hospital recommended, something shifted beneath the hurt, something that felt almost like resolve. Nathan thought I was routine, dependable, someone who would manage alone and be grateful for whatever attention he spared me later. He was about to learn how wrong that assumption was. In 5 hours, while he was photographing sunsets over Waikiki, I would be on national television having my life transformed by one of the world's most respected orthopedic surgeons. Some routines, I was beginning to understand, were more extraordinary than anyone noticed. Karen arrived in her sensible sedan, moving with the brisk efficiency that had made her a legend among library patrons. At 72, she still wore her gray hair in the same practical ponytail she'd favored for decades. Her outfit today, a simple blouse and slacks that somehow looked ready for both surgery waiting rooms and battle. "Don't you dare defend him," she said the moment I opened the door, reading my face with the accuracy of someone who'd spent years interpreting subtle human signals. "I've been thinking about this since you called, and I have thoughts." Karen, please. Gloria, I was there when you worked Christmas Eve so Nathan could have the video game system all his friends had. I was there when you sold your mother's silver to help with his college application fees. I was there when you downsized to this house so you could help with their mortgage when interest rates spiked. She paused, studying me carefully. When did giving everything become proof you deserved nothing back? I couldn't answer, partly because I didn't know, partly because examining it too closely might break something I needed intact for the next few hours. We should go, I said, picking up my small overnight bag, packed exactly to hospital specifications: loose pants, button-front shirts, non-skid slippers, the novel I'd probably be too groggy to read but packed anyway for the comfort of routine. The drive to Portland General took 50 minutes through morning traffic that felt deliberately cruel. Karen filled the silence with stories of other patrons she'd seen through major surgeries, carefully avoiding mentions of complications. Remember Mr. Jenkins from the third floor? Double knee replacement at 78, and now he's hiking the Appalachian Trail sections. Well, maybe not the whole trail, but he does 10 miles regularly and has better mobility than men half his age. Karen, you don't have to. I'm not reassuring you about the surgery, Gloria. I'm reminding you that your life isn't ending. Whatever happens with Nathan and his misplaced loyalties, you have years ahead to live exactly as you choose. We pulled into the hospital garage, and my stomach clenched with the familiar anxiety I'd felt every time I'd brought Nathan here as a child, for stitches, for asthma attacks, for the broken arm at 10. But this time, I wasn't here to care for someone else. I was here to be cared for. The admission process moved with unusual smoothness, handled by production assistants whose professional efficiency suggested practice. I found myself in a private pre-op suite with actual windows overlooking the city, space for camera equipment, and a level of comfort I'd never experienced as a patient. Mrs. Thompson, a young woman with a clipboard and television-ready smile, entered. I'm Lisa Chen, senior producer for America's Second Chances. Dr. Reyes wants to meet you before we start interviews. Dr. Michael Reyes entered with the quiet authority of someone who'd spent decades being the best in his field. Tall, salt and pepper hair, eyes that had seen thousands of joints restored. He looked exactly like his magazine covers, but carried himself with genuine warmth. Mrs. Thompson, he said, taking both my hands, I've been looking forward to this. Your application moved our entire team. You represent everything noble about public service. Dr. Reyes, I'm just a retired librarian who needs a new knee. No, you're a woman who spent nearly 38 years creating community, teaching literacy, holding space for people's hardest moments. That's heroism, the quiet kind that changes lives without seeking credit. He explained the procedure with the clarity I appreciated from years of translating medical information for anxious patrons. Total knee replacement using a new robotic-assisted technique he'd pioneered, reduced recovery time, smaller incision, better long-term outcomes. But your case is special, he continued, showing me 3D imaging of my joint. Your particular bone structure make you ideal for demonstrating the precision of this new system. This surgery will become teaching material for orthopedic residents nationwide. Why me? I asked. Out of everyone needing this procedure? Because your story matters. 38 years serving your community, raising a son alone, creating a library program that helped hundreds of immigrants learn English, all while managing increasing pain that would have sidelined most people. And now facing this alone because your family chose otherwise. He didn't say it judgmentally, but I heard the unspoken question about sons who chose Hawaiian vacations over mother's surgeries. Dr. Reyes, my son had commitments. I know. Our team spoke with Mrs. Wilson when she became your contact. His expression remained professional, but something in his eyes suggested strong opinions about family priorities. Mrs. Thompson, we consider it an honor to care for you today. After he left, the pre-op routine began. Blood draws, final x-rays, interviews about my library career and family situation. I spoke carefully about Nathan's absence, calling it a scheduling conflict rather than abandonment. "Tell us your proudest moment as a mother," one interviewer asked. "Watching Nathan become someone who didn't need me anymore," I said, realizing only after speaking how that independence had somehow become indifference. The anesthesia team arrived, and I thought about Nathan probably posting photos of Hawaiian sunsets while I prepared for the biggest physical challenge of my life. He had no idea my mother's routine surgery was about to become national television. The irony almost made me smile as the mask settled over my face. Almost. I awoke to the sound of monitors and Karen's familiar hand holding mine. "There you are," she said softly. "Welcome back." I managed a croaky, "How long?" 4 hours. Dr. Reyes said it was textbook perfect. The recovery room gradually focused. Bright lights, medical equipment, Karen's relieved face, and several others I recognized as production crew. Dr. Reyes approached with the satisfied expression surgeons wear when everything went exactly right. "Mrs. Thompson, your new knee is functioning beautifully. We used the full robotic system, smaller incision, perfect alignment. You'll be walking with a walker tomorrow and likely home in 3 days." How advanced is this technique? Advanced enough that your surgery will be used in training programs nationwide. You helped advance orthopedic care today, not just receive it. Through post-anesthesia fog, I tried to process this. My routine procedure had become medical history. "There's more," he continued, glancing at the cameras still recording. "Viewer response to your preliminary interviews has been extraordinary. The clips we posted yesterday already have 3 million views." 3 million? People are calling you the library angel. Your decades of service, your grace under difficult circumstances, it's resonating deeply. Karen squeezed my hand. "Gloria, you need to see this." She held up her phone, showing social media reactions, librarians sharing their stories, former patrons thanking me for help I barely remembered, people expressing outrage about my family's absence. How did they find out about Nathan? "The producers mentioned your son was traveling. Someone connected it to his social media posts from Hawaii." My stomach dropped. "What posts?" Karen hesitated, then showed me Nathan's account. Photos of him, Jenna, and Beatrice on a beach at sunset, raising tropical drinks. Caption, "Celebrating Mimi B's 80th in paradise. Dreams really do come true when you prioritize family. Hawaii 2025. Timestamped 6 hours ago while I was in surgery." Oh, God. "It gets intense in the comments," Karen said gently. "People are not kind." I scrolled through hundreds of responses. What kind of son posts beach photos while his mother has major surgery? Your mom is a hero and you're in Hawaii? Shame on you. Dr. Reyes cleared his throat. "Mrs. Thompson, we've received thousands of messages of support, flowers, cards, offers to help with recovery. You've touched more lives than you knew." "This is too much," I whispered. "I just wanted to get through surgery quietly." "Gloria," Karen said firmly, "you spent 38 years being quiet about your impact. You stayed late to help teenagers with college essays, created reading programs for homeless children, kept the library open during budget crises. Maybe it's time people saw what we've always known. You're extraordinary." "But Nathan made choices," Dr. Reyes said quietly. "You can't protect him from their consequences. Prioritizing someone else's birthday celebration over a parent's major surgery, that's his responsibility." A nurse arrived with stacks of mail. "These came for you in the last few hours. We're running out of space." I stared at letters from strangers who seemed to care more about my recovery than my own son. "There's something else," producer Lisa said. "The network wants to expand your story into a full special about unsung community heroes. And there's a standard participation fee for featured patients. She paused. $350,000. The room went quiet except for monitor beeps. $350,000? More money than I'd ever imagined having at once. That's not possible. It's very possible, Dr. Reyes said, and the least you deserve for sharing your story. My phone, which Karen had been monitoring, started ringing repeatedly. It's Nathan, she said. He's called 15 times in the last hour. Jenna, too, even Beatrice. They saw the posts, they know. I thought of my son, probably panicking in some Hawaiian resort, trying to manage a PR crisis while his mother recovered from life-changing surgery, surrounded by strangers who valued her more. What do you want me to say? Tell him nothing. If Nathan wants to speak to me, he can fly home from Hawaii and say it in person. The calls kept coming, but I didn't answer. Some conversations require strength I didn't have yet. The next days brought visitors I'd never expected. Dr. Reyes with newspapers showing my story on front pages. Librarian's surgery captures nation's heart. Abandoned mother becomes medical miracle. Library angel's procedure viewed by 18 million. You've become a phenomenon, he said. In 30 years of television medicine, I've never seen this response. Karen arrived daily with real coffee and updates. Nathan's called 42 times, Jenna 28, Beatrice 8 times, and she's sounding increasingly desperate. What are they saying? Nathan keeps saying it's a misunderstanding. Jenna's crying, saying they never meant it to look this way. Beatrice is demanding you stop the media attention immediately. I almost laughed. Even now, Beatrice issued orders. Social media has gotten intense. Nathan disabled comments. Jenna deleted her accounts. Someone started #HawaiiOverMom. Gloria, you didn't make him post beach photos during your surgery. He hurt himself. All you did was need support, and they failed you. We've had incredible support offers. The American Library Association wants to honor you. Several universities want commencement speeches, and, Karen grinned, over 3,000 requests from single gentlemen wanting to take you to dinner. Dear God! We're screening carefully. There's a retired history professor from Berkeley who wrote a lovely letter about wanting to discuss rare books over Italian food. I closed my eyes, trying to process going from abandoned mother to national inspiration overnight. There's the money, Dr. Reyes said gently, the $350,000. The network wants to present it formally, but I wanted you to know privately. I can't accept that. Why not? Because I didn't earn it. I just had surgery. You shared a story that reminded millions what real service looks like. If that's not worth $350,000, what is? For decades, you've worried about everyone's comfort. Maybe it's time to consider your own. Producer Lisa returned with more news. A major publisher wants your memoir. NPR wants an interview. The First Lady's office called. They want you for an event honoring community heroes. This is insane.
This is justice, Karen said. The universe finally rewarding someone who's given everything. Nathan's flight lands tomorrow at 2:15, Lisa confirmed. The media will be there. The question is whether you're ready to see them. I thought about the note on my table, the casual assumption I'd manage alone, the calls that came only after public shame. I don't know what I'll say to someone who learned his mother's surgery went well from social media. Then don't say anything yet. You're recovering. You don't owe emotional labor right now, especially not to your son. As evening fell, I sat surrounded by flowers from strangers, cards from people who'd found solace in my library decades ago, proof that my quiet life had mattered more than my family acknowledged. Somewhere over the Pacific, Nathan was likely rehearsing apologies while facing consequences he'd never imagined. For the first time in years, his crisis wasn't mine to fix. Nathan arrived at 7:47 p.m., still in travel clothes, carrying expensive orchids and wearing the desperate expression I'd seen when he was small and knew he'd disappointed me. Jenna stepped forward, eyes swollen from crying, holding a gift basket probably worth more than my monthly mortgage. Beatrice brought up the rear, face arranged in dignified outrage. Karen positioned herself like a guardian, evaluating them with the same sharp eye she'd used on disruptive patrons. "Mom," Nathan said, voice cracking, "thank God you're okay. We came as soon as we could." "As soon as you could, after seeing the news coverage." "That's not, we were already planning." "Nathan, I'm tired. Surgery is exhausting. Why are you here?" "Because you're my mother, because I was worried." "You were worried yesterday when you left for Hawaii?" Jenna stepped forward. "Mrs. Thompson, the timing was terrible. We never meant—" "Terrible timing? Is that what we're calling it?" Beatrice spoke, voice carrying the authority she'd wielded for years. "Gloria, this media frenzy is excessive. Nathan's being attacked online for what was essentially a scheduling issue. You need to release a statement saying the family is united." I looked at the woman who'd gradually convinced my son her milestones mattered more than mine. "Beatrice, tell me about Hawaii. Was it everything you dreamed?" Her eyes narrowed. "It was lovely, cultural, educational." "I'm glad. Glad you got sunsets and Mai Tais and photos while I was having my knee rebuilt." "Mom, that's not fair." "What's not fair, Nathan? That I'm stating facts or that they happened?" Karen cleared her throat. "Nathan, explain why Beatrice's birthday was more important than your mother's surgery." "It wasn't more important, the dates were set, and Mom's always been so independent." "So you thought I could handle major surgery independently too?" "I thought it was routine, you'd be fine." "And if I hadn't been fine? If complications arose? If I died on that table?" "Don't say that." "I've been thinking about dying alone for 7 months, about waking up without anyone who loves me holding my hand, about my son not knowing I was gone until he returned from vacation." Jenna burst into tears. "We didn't know it would look like this." "You thought I'd understand? That I'd be proud you were making Beatrice's dreams come true?" "She's 80. This might have been her last chance." "And I'm 68. Yesterday might have been my last chance to have my son with me when I needed him most." Beatrice stepped forward. "Gloria, you're being dramatic. The surgery succeeded. You've received extraordinary attention. Time to move forward." "Move forward from what, Beatrice? This victim performance damaging my family?" "Your family?" "Nathan, Jenna, the children, my family." "They're not your family, they're mine. Nathan is my son. Those are my grandchildren. The humiliation isn't mine, it's yours. You convinced him to choose your celebration over my survival." That's exactly what happened. You wanted Hawaii. Nathan chose your wants over my needs." Nathan looked defeated. "Mom, what do you want from me?" "I want you to want to be here, not because social media shames you, but because you love me and are grateful I survived." "I do love you." "Do you? Or do you love having a mother who never inconveniences you, who always manages?" The room fell silent except for monitors and Jenna's crying. "The thing is, I don't need apologies or explanations. I need you to decide if you want a relationship based on genuine care or one where I'm an obligation you manage when convenient. While you celebrated in Hawaii, I learned I'm stronger than I thought. My life matters to more people than I realized. I deserve people who value me, not tolerate me. The $350,000 I'm receiving, enough to live comfortably without depending on anyone, enough to make my own choices." "Mom, are you saying you don't want us in your life?" "I'm saying I want you because you choose me, not because you feel obligated. That choice is yours." The next days blurred with interviews, checkups, and watching my story become national conversation.
Dr. Reyes declared my recovery exceptional. Karen managed the flood of offers, publishers bidding on book rights, speaking invitations from library associations, even a potential Netflix documentary. Nathan hadn't returned since our confrontation, though he'd sent flowers with a note. "Mom, I'm trying to understand what you need. I love you." But it was Beatrice's visit that surprised me most. She arrived alone on Friday, looking diminished without her usual authority. "Gloria," she said quietly, "I owe you a real apology." "I'm listening." "For 6 years, I've treated you as competition rather than the woman who raised the man I depend on. I convinced myself you were too demanding of Nathan's time. I encouraged him to prioritize his nuclear family, Jenna, the children, me, as healthy boundaries." She paused, looking older than 80. "Watching the country express horror at abandoning you forced me to face what I had orchestrated. Beatrice, please, I need to say this. I was jealous. Jealous that Nathan loved you unconditionally while I had to earn his attention. Jealous that you were secure in his affection while I feared losing it. Since Jenna's father died, I've been terrified of being irrelevant, so I made Nathan my emotional caretaker and convinced him it was normal." The Hawaii trip? Was me panicking about turning 80 without the experiences I thought mattered. But Gloria, I could have gone any time. I chose your surgery date to test whether Nathan would choose me when it counted. And he did. And I was triumphant until I realized I'd turned a good man into someone who could abandon his mother during crisis. We sat in silence, processing her honesty. "What do you want now?" "To help repair the damage I've done to your relationship with Nathan, with your grandchildren, with family peace." Before I could respond, Karen appeared excitedly. "Gloria, it's the White House. They want you for a ceremony honoring community heroes." Beatrice smiled sadly. "Take the call. This is bigger than our drama. This recognizes who you've always been." The conversation arranged an invitation to Washington for an event celebrating public servants. After hanging up, Beatrice stood. "I spent years convincing Nathan you were ordinary. I was wrong. You're extraordinary in the way that matters most." "I am ordinary, Beatrice, just ordinary that apparently resonates." "No, you're extraordinary in a way that looks ordinary to people who don't look closely." She left with a promise to speak honestly with Nathan. That evening, Nathan returned alone, carrying himself differently, like someone who'd seen himself clearly for the first time. "Beatrice told me everything," he began, "about the manipulation, about Hawaii being a test. What do you think?" "I think she's right. I've been a terrible son. I don't know how to fix it." "When did it start? When did I become someone you saw as obligation rather than person?" "I think when I got married, balancing being a son with being husband and father, that's normal. But you didn't just find new balance, you let me disappear." "But you were always there, helping with money, babysitting." "Being available isn't being valued. I became convenient, not important." Nathan was quiet. "Remember your 35th birthday? I'd planned a family dinner. Just us, your favorite Italian food, the cake you'd loved since childhood." "I remember Beatrice needed help reorganizing her library room that weekend. You canceled our dinner. You said, 'Mom, you'll understand. Beatrice really needs me right now.'" But I did understand. You understood that Beatrice's project mattered more than celebrating with your mother. That's when I realized I'd become the backup plan. Nathan looked stricken. "I thought you preferred independence. Beatrice needed constant reassurance, and you just handled everything." "I handled things because I thought that's what you needed, but not needing isn't not having needs. Like with surgery. I've been afraid since diagnosis, of pain, of losing mobility, of becoming burden. When you promised to be there, I felt safe. Then I abandoned you for Hawaii."
You abandoned me for Beatrice's celebration. Nathan stood, walking to window. Mom, do you think I'm a good person? I could give easy comfort, or truth that might help him grow. I think you're someone who's been making bad choices. You have capacity for real love, but you've let someone else's demands override your integrity. What would it take to earn your trust again? Time, consistency, choosing me when it's inconvenient. Practically, Sunday dinners here sometimes, calling because you want to talk, not need something, remembering my birthday without reminders. And if I do these things, then maybe we rebuild something real. Nathan leaned forward. There's something else about the fame, the money. I'm proud of you. Proud the country sees what I should have seen, that you're extraordinary. Nathan? I'm proud, but scared. Scared you'll realize you don't need me anymore. Sweetheart, I've never needed you. I've wanted you. What's the difference? Need is dependence. Want is choice. I don't need you to manage my life. I want you because you're my son, and I love watching you become your best self. Even after everything? Especially after. Now you have chance to grow into someone I can be truly proud of. Can I hug you? He embraced me carefully, mindful of IV lines. I love you, Mom. I'm sorry it took television for me to show it properly. I love you too, but this is easy part. Hard part is changing when cameras are gone. I know, but I'm ready to do the hard part. As Nathan left to begin rebuilding, I realized my surgery had accomplished something unexpected. It gave me courage to demand the love I deserved, rather than accept crumbs. Some miracles happen through honest conversations. 2 weeks later, I was discharged with Dr. Reyes's approval, a new knee, and what felt like national attention following my recovery. Media waited outside, but the crowd holding signs, "We love you, Library Angel. Thank you for your service," made it real. I thanked everyone for support, credited the medical team for giving me not just a new knee, but appreciation for being truly cared for. What's next? A reporter asked. Living. After decades helping others through life's challenges, now I have opportunity to show it's never too late for new chapters, for being valued, for relationships based on respect rather than sacrifice. Nathan appeared, helping me to Karen's car. Ready to go home, Mom? Home felt different now, full of possibility. My house had been transformed, cleaned, stocked, arranged for recovery comfort. Fresh flowers everywhere, books organized, a cozy reading nook created. Jenna wanted to be here, Nathan said, but didn't want to overwhelm you. That's thoughtful. She's been different since Hawaii, more aware of how she contributed. Nathan handed me proposals for a foundation in my name, literacy programs, library support, scholarships for children of single parents. This is overwhelming. You don't have to decide anything now, but people want to help you make bigger impact than ever before. I want to start small, scholarships for library science students from working-class backgrounds, support for elderly patrons facing isolation, real needs without spectacle. Perfect. And Mom, I want to help, not managing but supporting your vision. What about Beatrice? She started therapy for dependency issues, volunteering at a senior center, learning to contribute rather than demand. Everyone taking responsibility for growth instead of expecting me to manage emotions. Nathan, about the money, the $350,000 plus whatever comes, it's enough. I don't need financial help anymore. You helped with my house, my car? I noticed and appreciated. But now I want you in my life because I love you, not because I need support. That changes everything. Yes, if you disappoint again, I have options. Your presence becomes gift, not necessity. That's scarier. Good. Love should be earned, not assumed. As evening fell, Nathan left not from duty but because we'd shared meaningful time and would again soon, by choice. Later, a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Thompson, this is Dr. Robert Harlan, no relation to your surgeon. I'm the retired English professor who wrote about dinner and rare books. I make excellent lasagna and would love to hear your thoughts on Jane Austen. I smiled, thinking of new possibilities at 68 with foundation building, a son learning proper love, and apparently courtship from someone who saw me as fascinating. Some chapters are worth waiting a lifetime to begin. 4 months later, I stood in the White House gardens wearing a dress that cost more than my former monthly salary, among 30 community heroes honored by the president. Your story has inspired Americans to re-examine relationships with aging parents, the president said personally. Thank you for your service. It grew from learning my life had value beyond what my family acknowledged. Sometimes strangers must see your worth before those closest remember to look. Back in Portland, Karen asked on the flight home, "Are you happy with how this turned out?" Grateful something good came from pain, but happiest part isn't recognition, it's Nathan calling just to talk. Jenna bringing grandchildren because they want to, not obligation. Relationships based on respect. And Dr. Harlan? Robert has proven that being appreciated by someone who understands your life's value is possible at any age. We're taking things slowly, enjoying conversations about books, history, long walks with my new knee. Just don't let him sweep you off your feet before finishing your empire. Empire? 4 best-selling books, national foundation, speaking schedule booked years ahead, and a movie in development. The movie, surreal, an Oscar-winning actress signed to play me, focusing on community service and family reconciliation. Do you worry about vindictiveness, making Nathan look bad? Truth isn't vindictive, and Nathan says the consequences were necessary. He needed to see how his actions appeared to others. Then, he's growing. Nathan met me at baggage claim, routine now, not because I needed help, but because he missed me during short trips. How was the president? Gracious, asked about implementing our foundation model nationally. Mom, that's incredible. There's something about the movie. They portray Hawaii accurately, but show your redemption. I've read the script. My character is flawed, but grows, which is accurate. You're not worried about reputation? My reputation needed shaking. I needed to understand consequences before understanding why choices were wrong. What are you doing Sunday? Whatever you want. Robert's coming for dinner? He's bringing his famous apple crisp, excited to meet the son who's learning proper love, especially after everything, because now he knows I raised someone capable of growth. 1 year later, I stood in the lobby of the newly opened Thompson Center for Community Literacy, 5 floors of library space, classrooms, technology centers, family support programs. You look radiant, Robert said, distinguished in his suit. Over the year, our relationship had deepened into genuine partnership built on mutual appreciation. I'm living someone else's life. You're living yours, finally matching your worth. Nathan arrived with Jenna and grandchildren who now spent regular time with both grandmothers. Where's Beatrice? In Hawaii, again, her 3rd trip, organizing library tours for seniors now. Turns out she loves contributing when not demanding. Ladies and gentlemen, the director announced, please join us for the program. The auditorium held 600, former patrons, colleagues, families helped by new programs. Karen introduced me movingly. When I woke up the morning of my knee surgery 20 months ago, I began, I thought it was my worst day, abandoned, reduced to burden. I was wrong. It became the best chapter of my life. Because sometimes losing what you thought you needed reveals what you deserve. I spoke about programs, scholarships, family counseling, elderly literacy initiatives, community healing spaces. But our most important work is changing conversations around aging, family duty, and valuing quiet contributions. The evening ended with announcement of national partnerships, bringing our model to public libraries across America. Later, with Nathan and Robert looking at the plaque, the Thompson Center, where stories find their voice. "Mom," Nathan said quietly, "I'm proud of you for demanding better from all of us. You could have accepted less, but you showed what real love requires." And what does it require? Expecting people to meet your standards rather than lowering yours to fit their limits. Robert squeezed my hand. "You didn't just save your mobility, Gloria, you saved your family by forcing us to distinguish obligation from love." Walking through my beautiful center, surrounded by proof of what happens when purpose meets resources, I realized the greatest miracle wasn't medical. It was discovering that some people are worth waiting 69 years to become. The biggest surgery wasn't on my knee, it was on my willingness to accept less than I deserved. Once I healed from that, everything became possible. Some miracles happen in operating rooms. Others happen when you finally love yourself enough to demand others love you properly too. At 69, I learned it's never too late to become who you were meant to be, if you're brave enough to stop settling. If this story moved you, if you've ever had to demand the love you deserve, please share your experience in the comments below. You're not alone. And if you want to hear more stories of women finding their strength and second chances, subscribe to the channel and stay with me for the next one.